Other one. Hello, everyone. My name is Tara Stevenson. I serve as the Dean of Student Engagement and Career Development here at Flagler College, and we're excited to bring you another workshop Wednesday. This is our last one for the 2021 academic year, but I am thrilled to have our guest with us, Pam. So Pam, tell us all about you.
Okay, this is so exciting. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Pam Hedgepeth. The time at Flagler, I was Pam Santa Maria, so I've changed my name. But I guess I would like to talk about my career path. When I started at Flagler, I had no clue what I wanted to study. So I spent a lot of time with Tara because I needed help. I changed my major 5 times. And then when I graduated, I thought I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't. And then I was working in the wedding industry, which was a lot of fun. But I kept meeting with Tara because the awesome thing is that you can, as an alum, you can still work with Tara in the career office. So that was super exciting. And that helped me kind of like understand what is it that I wanted to do with my life. And she helped me navigate that process and learn that higher education was where I wanted to be. So it has been an amazing time. And through that, I've learned other things about me. So I'm excited to be here because I feel like it's a full circle in my life. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Oh, and I do want to add, I was an international student at Flagler College. So started the International Student Club when I got there. So yay.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are going live from the Career Development Facebook page, the Alumni Facebook page, the Flagler College YouTube channel, Career Development Instagram page, and the Alumni Instagram page. We are going to be talking about professional communication. And so at the end of this, we will share a co-curricular word if you are seeking co-curricular credit for joining us. And if at any time anybody's got questions, please feel free to type them on out on any one of these channels. We're watching them all, and we hope that you'll get out of this some information that will be helpful for you. I mean, we're getting close to the end of this semester, so we know presentations are occurring, they have occurred, they're coming up, and this idea of just what professional communication includes is a big, huge topic. I have a quote that I'd love to start us off with and then get kind of your feedback on it, but we always hear that dance like no one is watching, and I love hearing that. But the second part of this quote was, email like it may one day be read aloud in a deposition. Because your email is a written document that can follow you around, or somebody else has received it. If you think about, Pam, like professional communication, what comes to your mind?
Yeah. So I currently work in higher education. I work with a lot of students, and I can say that sometimes students don't realize that they still need to be professional, even if it's any person, even if it's their peer or their professor. Professionalism is really important because it shows your character, and it also shows like, okay, does this person respect me? Even I've had emails where students are like, "Hey, mama," and I'm like, "What?" And sometimes I obviously think because I'm young, and the students are like, "Oh, like she's my age, she's my pal." But I really think that it also shows their professionalism in general and how they're going to be if I connect them with an employer or I help them network, right? Because if I connect them with someone, I'm representing myself by connecting them with that person. So, yeah.
All right, so we've got kind of 6 different areas that we're going to dive into when it comes to professional communication. Obviously, there are so many different types of communication that is out there, but coming from the career development standpoint, we felt that these ones were kind of the most important that our audience would hopefully get out of. So number 1 is thinking about this formal versus informal communication. So obviously, hopefully, we are not sending emails that are starting with, "Hey, mama." I know I have gotten some like, perhaps we could have just said thank you. But definitely knowing your audience, staying away from abbreviations or slang, and then always erring on the side of formal versus informal. Any other kind of distinctions that you can think of when it comes to this formal versus informal?
Yeah, when I think about that, I think about networking. So something that I share with my students and just clients in general is like, you know, networking happens in a professional or unprofessional, you know, environment, right? So I think if you would like to connect with someone that you already have their phone number, you've already been in conversation, you can use that informal like text, but still be professional. They're like, hey, I would like to meet and learn more about blank, right? And like in the professional side, you're not going to text someone just randomly or even on LinkedIn, right? You don't want to be like, hey, like just connect. You have to be able to connect with them professionally. And obviously in those conversations, don't use slang. You just have to have your really professional languages and make sure you communicate clearly with them.
And I like this, you know, the slang or even jargon when it comes to it is erring on the side of more formal. I don't know if jargon is necessarily helping you always. Like it's almost like how can you be a bit more authentic while incorporating some of that jargon in that formal communication versus feeling like it's forced, or going the complete opposite of that seesaw and just not mentioning anything and going really, really way back. You know, all communication is open to this sense of judgment. And if we can take away some of those opportunities for that judgment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're sending a really important email or a professional email because you want to connect with someone, don't be afraid of asking someone to read your email, because even sometimes writing might not come across the way you want it to come across. And just having like a second set of eyes is really important just to make sure what you're sending is exactly what you want to send, and that is understood not only to you, but also to the person that helped you check that email.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to dive definitely into the whole areas of email for number 4, but email is such a big piece nowadays of how we communicate, leaving that paper trail, leaving that impression. I mean, it's a first impression, it can be a lasting impression, all of that. And just like when we're talking about interviews, just like we're talking about your resumes, if you can set that level of expectation high, and set that impression high at the beginning, it only helps you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So number 2 is nonverbal communication. I absolutely love talking about that when it comes to professional communication. Up to 90% of communication is nonverbal. So if you think that's 10%, that's just the actual words we are saying. So when you're working with students or clients and talking about just communication in general, or maybe how to present themselves, what nonverbal cues or things are you working with them on?
Absolutely. I think even, so what I do with my students, they apply to internships all around the US, New York City, and LA are the biggest ones. And because everything's online, like even for the pandemic, like they would always have to be online, even interviews, just because they're in Nashville. It's always being able to help them sound excited, right? Because even on the phone, even if they can't see you, if you're smiling, like you can express that excitement that you're really not only looking forward to the position, but you're really curious about what it is. And like you're really, you know, putting all your energy and being able to be, you know, create a partnership with the employer and work with them. So I think just being able to not only like show excitement, but be able to, I mean, even even on Zoom interviews, like I don't know if you had this, but my favorite is when there's a bed behind. It's like, no, absolutely. Like that's like not even like within the person, but it just says so much about the person. I was just thinking
They've communicated something.
Why? Can you repeat that?
They've communicated something.
Yeah, exactly. So it's always like, okay, and how's your camera? And I know right now my camera's a little weird because I'm working with two, but yeah, like you don't want to have like all your face on your Zoom interview, or you don't want to have bottles of alcohol in the background. So that's really, really important when thinking about that.
It's very, very true. I work with a lot of students on this sense of nonverbal communication because it's not only tone, but it's the way that we move our hands. I joke all the time, like I'm from up north and I also have Italian in my blood. So obviously my hands are all over the place. And when I get really excited, my hands get really excited. And I was doing an interview with someone virtually like this, and we had just announced receiving a leadership position. And all of a sudden I'm looking at myself and my arms are all the way out. And I'm like super pumped, and I was like, oh goodness, like that. Like they can see my face. Was that the most professional use of my hands? You know, thinking about your speed, as I mentioned, like I grew up north, and up north, the speed of language sometimes tends to be faster. And if we know something a whole lot more, we feel a bit more confident with it. So we may be talking faster, adding less filler words because we feel confident in ourselves with that information. But thinking about how is the audience also receiving it? Like they're not just hearing the words, hopefully they're hearing the words, but the way that it's delivered. And if this is something that our students and alumni can really work on, it just levels up that communication so much.
Yeah. Speaking about hands, actually, I just remembered I was graduating with my graduate program in higher education, and I was searching for jobs. And at the time, someone that was working at Flagler, who was my mentor, was like, oh, like, let's do a Zoom session, like a Skype at the time. And we did this mock interview. And I, like you said, like I moved my hands so much, and she had to stop me in the middle of my mock interview and was like, Pam, you're making me dizzy. Stop moving your hands. So I always like tell people to like just sit on your hands and practice talking like that, because it's helpful. I move my hands a lot, and I speak fast because Spanish is my first language, and we already speak really like Spanish. We speak really
fast. It's a very fast language, yeah.
Yeah. So with English, I'm like, I have to speak fast because that's like my pace. But yeah, it's something I need to work on for sure.
A tip that I always share is I am still trying to be cognizant of my filler words when it comes to speaking, whether I'm comfortable with the topic, whether I'm comfortable with the audience, whether I am so nervous that I can see my hands shaking and feel like everybody can see my heart beating. However, I am really trying to train myself on this almost pause, because I can feel the word like.
Okay.
So getting ready to come out, that it's not this awkward pause, but one that helps to slow me down if I'm talking too fast, helps me collect my thoughts and then deliver them without these awkward filler words.
Yeah, no, that's a great tip for sure, because I'm aware of that sometimes too, but like on my end, and also when I was working with students and helping them in mock interviews, they used to use the word like a lot. So then I started learning that, and I'm like, I need to unlearn it, not learn it. So that's another word, like.
Yeah.
Yes.
The third area is thinking about interpersonal communication and what that means when you're, connecting with other people. It's obviously also connected with nonverbal, because it's all in how you say it, your tone. What are some other kind of tips that you give to people when it comes to either a greeting or a closing, or really providing that customer service aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. What comes to mind is definitely building relationships. So more than just any conversation, you want to be able to build a relationship. And that can be with anything in your life, right? I think at Flagler College, I was able to build relationships because I'm still in contact with like staff, faculty, you name it. And every time I'm in St. Augustine, I have to go say hi. But those interpersonal, when I think interpersonal, I think it's like, it's all about the relationship. It's not about like the exchange, right? It's all about being like, how can I help you? And that goes back also when networking, networking to me is like radical empathy, because you help others, because at some point, you're going to help other people. So being able to say like, okay, this is what I'm doing for this person, not thinking, what are they going to do back for me? No, because eventually you're going to keep giving and people are going to keep giving you. And that's one of the reasons why I love, building relationships. It's my favorite thing.
Absolutely. I am really trying to do better with this with myself as you're talking about that relationship building. Is I always say, like, I might not remember your name, but I will remember something about you. And I will try to always follow up with that, like, oh, how are you that you mentioned, or you were going to take this great trip. How are things like that? And it's actually from my husband, who is not necessarily a big people person, but he said that when somebody introduces themselves to him, he says, it's nice to meet you, and repeats their name so that it helps to stick with him. So then at the end of the conversation, he can say, it was very nice to connect with you, name.
Oh, nice. That's a great.
I was like, that is, yeah, like it's coming full circle with that relationship building that you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's so great. Yeah, names are sometimes hard to remember, especially when you start working in higher ed and you meet so many students. Like, okay, I need to remember them somehow. So I always make sure to like take notes and like just like you said, remember something about them to at least just connect through that. But yeah, for sure.
So we've obviously been spending some time talking about that verbal communication and professionalism. We could totally spend a whole nother workshop on professional communications and things like that. But let's think about email for a little bit, because we have our audience members that are emailing with one another. They're emailing with professors or staff members. They're emailing with community members, supervisors, things like that. What are some annoying things about email that you find?
Well, okay. A lot. It is a great way of communicating. Obviously, like everybody uses it now. I think just in general, like opening lines, like hope everything's well. Like I hope this email finds you well, and it's like, oh my gosh, like no.
That's been the pandemic 101 thing to start with. Hope everything is well.
Yes, and I tend to do that because sometimes I'm like, well, I don't want to go straight to the point, but also like, how other way can I communicate that I'm just like, I'm here to talk to you. So, so that's definitely for sure. Also with email, like just make sure that whatever email you use is a professional email, because I've seen terrible emails. Like I can't even think of them right now, but like some like batman01@gmail, like literally like not professional. So by then it's like, I don't even want to read that email. That looks like spam. Yeah, for sure. And then I'm trying to think other things. Just like the openings, and also kind of like what I was talking about, the hey mama or like hey Pam, and it's like no, like just Miss Hedgepeth, right? I know I've seen emails where they ask for something, but then there's a bunch of typos, and it's like, I don't know if you're serious about what you're asking me, because I just don't understand. So
yeah. No, I mean, proofreading is definitely one of the things that we have on here. And I think it goes back to what we talked about before on knowing your audience. And so is the person that you're writing to, do they want a formal greeting? Like sometimes I struggle when I receive an email where there's no like, hello, hi, good afternoon, or even just like a Tara, but it's just like a direct response. But some other annoying things when it comes to email that we want to try to avoid: too long or too short. The inappropriate reply all. I feel like this is very common, when people reply from their phones.
Yes.
So I know
I'm having like memories and flashbacks. Yes, for sure.
And so really trying to see like who's getting it. I think along those same lines, thinking about like the not relevant CC person, like who else is being copied into that email. The recipient can kind of look at it and without that personal like explanation for that email, they could be like, well, why is this other person being included in this email? Did I do something wrong? Are they including my supervisor for a reason? Are they including their supervisor for a reason? You know, I've really been trying to train myself that if I am CCing somebody, that I try to reference them in an email, like I've included this other person to weigh in on this. So then it's not.
I love doing that too, just so there's no pressure, for sure.
Yeah. The highly emotional or rude emails. And so many times we receive something or we are like fired up and we're like, I'm going to write the email. And any initial thought gets put into that email. It's probably a good recommendation. Maybe just sit on it for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody has had those emails at some point. And it's like, or like they read it and took it wrong just because they were like already like stressed about it. And then you take an hour or two and then you reread it. And then it's like, oh, like it's not as bad as I thought it was, right?
Yeah, we have a communication professor that she has I think she mentioned a rule of three when it comes to emails. And it's such a good professional. So she looks over it once, she checks it over again, and then just like one last time. I think it's like the first time she reads over it, the second time she reads it out loud. But I just feel like she trains herself to at least look over something twice at a minimum. Along that same line is the exclamation point, or I mean, I feel like we need to put in here,
Okay, I love exclamation points, but that's just because I get really excited about what I do. But yes, I agree. Like maybe too many, not the best. I mean, my rule of thumb is like 1 if I'm really excited, maybe 2. But I've seen people write like 5, and I'm like, okay, you're way more excited than I am. That's great.
It's so funny because again, when we're taking in written communication, it's not coming with any sort of tone or perspective or all that nonverbal communication. And so we're taking it at face value. I mean, I know myself, it was a couple weeks ago, I was emailing back and forth with my daughter's teacher, and she wasn't using exclamation points when she had prior. And I was like, oh no, like what's happening? Like, have you really some sort of relationship? Like, did something happen? Like, there's not an exclamation point in there.
Absolutely, yeah. You take it personally. You overthink about things.
Yes. Or I love it where like I'm writing an email and I just get all my thoughts out, and then I'm like, okay, so I used an exclamation point there, and then I used a period, and then like I sandwiched it with another exclamation point. Can one of those become a period? Can one of those become and then we all of a sudden start analyzing the exclamation point. And then I think a lot of people, again, like thinking on it from the receiving end of email communication, like when I receive something that's got bold or underline or red, like is it emphasizing something in the right way? Or is it this like, grrr, I need you to remember.
Yeah. I actually highlight everything. Something that I've seen, especially with what I do in my full-time job, we have a lot of deadlines, and students have a lot of deadlines because we need to submit like housing and like a bunch of other things. So I have to like highlight and bold the important dates. And even then, someone's going to miss it. And it's okay because we don't read all the emails. And again, talking about long emails, some emails might be long, but they might be really important. But yeah, you have to make sure it's like, is it too long? Is it like the right size for what I'm going to say?
Yeah. Is it helping the sender to remember everything? Is it that they're wanting to make sure that the recipient remembers everything? I mean, we could sit here and totally interpret things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And somebody is just trying to say, like, I was just trying to send a one-liner there.
Yes.
All right, so number 5 is phone.
Okay.
So thinking about the phone and phone communication, a greeting is always important, whether it's you're calling somebody or somebody is calling you. Smiling, I think, is huge. I remember being trained that when I was in undergrad working the phones in our admissions office. That was something that they said, like, if you smile when you're talking, it does provide something. Beware of your speaking volume because phones can be a little weird. I also think now that we are all so mobile, thinking about any background noise and whether it's on a cell phone or an office phone and what that reception looks like. And then letting people know if they're on speakerphone or if anybody else is in the office with you. I just think that's a really good common courtesy to give the person on the other end. Any other phone tips?
Yeah, definitely the greeting is super important. I've had situations, so I recruit for my program, for our program, and then I interview students, and sometimes there's something missing, right? So I have to call the number on their resume, and if they don't have a greeting, I assume it's not them. So I'm like, okay, moving on, right? Or if I can't leave voicemails, like I get so upset when they're like, the mailbox is full, and it's like, like, I can't save the information, so I can't share with you what I need to share. So make sure your mailbox is not full. It's kind of annoying. It's just not. And then sound is really definitely important, just because. I mean, at some point through the pandemic, I had to work from home, and I did have someone call me, and it was like the only time that we could go to the grocery store because we felt safe at that time. And someone called me, and I was like, I am so sorry. I am at the grocery store, and I let them know. It's like, I can either call you later or, beware of the sound. And, they're so grateful because they know that if they hear a background sound, it's not like, oh, where is she? Or they're not questioning, right? We're not leaving them to assume whatever they want to assume. We're just being clear on what we're
You're setting expectations from the beginning so that the other person understands what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do think it's 100% appropriate to just briefly touch again on the virtual world when it comes to professional communication. I mean, I joke all the time, like, I don't think I would necessarily do anything professionally from my office because there's so much going on. But I do always.
I'm at home, so that's why you see, like, my post-it wall. This is where I, like, get my life together. So,
I mean, I do always joke, like, I purposely do put things in my Zoom background, such as my cleaning supplies, so I value cleaning. I also have a shoe thing, so I value shoes. My Flagler sign, because I do work at Flagler, and then depending on where I'm sitting, you can see the stuff from my kid. However, those can all be very distracting in a professional setting, and so thinking about what that background looks like. And then lastly, thank yous. What do you have to share about thank yous?
Thank yous are so important, and it's also part of that building relationship piece, right? Because it's not like, okay, I helped that person and that's it, but like, okay, that person helped me, like, I'm so grateful for their time, because at the end of the day, like, everyone has a busy life, like, absolutely everybody has a busy life, whether it's like personally or professionally, like, everybody has a busy life, and the fact that they give you some time to talk, to give you inside of whatever industry you're interested in or anything, like, you have to say thank you. Even with interviews, so important that after an interview, send a thank you email, send a thank you card, depending on what the interview is, right? Super important, because you leave a lasting impression, and that's one of the most important things. I mean, I know when we were recruiting for a specific position in my previous job, we made a decision based on, like, the thank you notes, because one candidate stood out by leaving this amazing thank you note and talking about, like, what they learned about the position, why were they excited about the position. And it was really not only touching, but also, wow, like, they were paying attention to everything that we said. And also, they were the only one that only ones that did that. So, okay, maybe this person is worth calling again. So,
yeah, I've served on a couple different hiring committees, and I love when the candidate reaches out to everyone on the committee to say thank you versus just the one contact that they've been working with to schedule everything. Just shows that they went that extra step. And I personally, like, I'm okay with a one sentence thank you. I am okay with a thank you where they relate it back to something specific that we've talked about. It's just that intention of an authentic thank you.
Yep.
They are so quick and easy, whether it's a professor that wrote you a letter of recommendation, thank you so much for doing this. Whether it's somebody that gave you an interview or a networking opportunity or a pleasure to meet you, maybe we can follow up and chat later. It can go so far that I don't think many of us realize how far it can go.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's also like that, and going back into relationships, like I know you've written so many recommendations for me, and I always make sure to say thank you because guess what? Like at some point I might change careers, and at some point I might ask you again, right? And if I didn't say thank you, you might be like, no, like I'm busy or whatever, right? I know you wouldn't, but still, like it's just that lasting impression of like, did this person really valued my time? Did they really valued what, you know, how much work and energy I put into recommending them or whatever? Yes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully those that have either joined us live or are watching this recording have gained some sort of insight. If you take away anything from today, I feel like Pam has touched on this a whole lot, is that relationship building aspect when it comes to professional communication, because it can either really help solidify or it can really break apart that relationship. So at the end of all of these workshops, we do always bring a keyword for co-curricular credit. So Pam, I would love for you to think of one word. It can be any word that you would like to share with the audience.
Oh my goodness, this is like so much pressure. I would say relationship.
Relationship. So if anybody is seeking co-curricular credit for either watching us live or checking out the recording at another time, please email the word relationship to careerdevelopment@flagler.edu, and we will be sure to add you. But Pam, thank you so much for joining. This was wonderful.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I feel so honored.
Yes, it's fun to kind of bounce ideas back. I have thoroughly enjoyed this semester connecting with many of our Flagler alumni, and I hope that we can continue more of these workshops, whether we are still 100% in a COVID world or whether we are able to bring some people onto campus. As a reminder, we are in the middle of Student Affairs Week, so we still have lots more programming. We also have the Student Leadership Conference on Saturday. And so if you are looking for more tips on professionalism, all those different pieces that go into making a student leader, please register. You'll also get 2 co-curriculars for attending on Saturday. But besides co-curriculars, it's going to be some wonderful connections and development and some probably really good breakfast and lunch meals. But I do always end these with stay safe and healthy. Thank you so much for what everybody is doing for our community. Continue to mask up, continue doing what you can, and we wish you all well. So thank you so much.
All righty, bye.